Alright guys, and welcome back. Right, those that have been watching my channel will know I've recently purchased this 2000 Aston Martin DB7 Vantage. As you've probably seen, it's been in a crash. I bought it cheap and my plan is to do it up and have some fun with it. Right, so the plan for today's video is to purely strip the car down a little bit and assess the damage. So the main thing I'm concerned about is the wheel here. A, it doesn't hold any pressure, and B, this is the important bit, it sits too far back. It's about an inch further back than the other side. So I'm going to jack the car up, I'm going to take the wheel off and try and identify why the wheel's being pushed back. I'm hoping it's just a bent arm or something like that. We're going to do that now. As you can see, this is the little bit I am concerned about. The wheel is far too far back and it's clearly been rubbing here. So that's not right. So on these DB7s, you're meant to jack them on a little stud what comes out of the bottom of the chassis. It's very much like a kit car underneath. There's lots of fiberglass everywhere, lots of braces. It's not very clear where you jack it. So I've done a bit of research and it's definitely the big stud sticking out. It looks like a big bolt head. It's really solid, so I'm going to jack it up. Like so. Axle stand underneath. It's nice and safe. Right, I don't know if you can see this. I was hoping this arm would be bent, but if I'm honest, I think the subframe is. Because there's a massive gap there. It's touching there, and the whole thing looks like it's twisted around a little bit. This top piece here. Yeah, the whole front end's out of alignment. Shock absorber's touching here. I think this turret bit here is bent. So I don't know if I'm going to have to take the subframe off to straighten that or what. Not sure. Well, I've had a bit of an investigation and I think I know why the wheel is slightly too far back. So I've taken a few bits off, had a really good look. My friend who's a panel beater's had a look and we found a few little issues. So the first issue, the front lower subframe mount, where the bracket what attaches to the chassis is slightly twisted. We're not talking a lot, just a little bit, but it just is sitting the subframe slightly further back than it should be. Yeah, the second issue is the rear rubber mount is broken off, completely detached from the subframe. So that's obviously making the subframe out of alignment, causing a bit of an issue. So we're confident once these are replaced, that issue is hopefully going to be resolved. Now, I've managed to find some brand new rear subframe mounts. Online, nothing to look at really, but these are for a Jaguar. Now, Aston Martin ones were about £65 each. I found a pair of these for a Jaguar for £35 posted. So that is a bit of a result. Let's just hope they fit. I've got a little bit more positive news to report as well. While Cookie, my friend, was here, we did some measuring under the bonnet and all the panel lines and all the bolt holes, etc. for the bonnet, for the wings, etc. Everything is perfectly in measurement. We checked like corner to corners, checked quite a few little bits and bobs, and everything's really good. All the inner wings are really good. There's no like major damage to the chassis or anything like that. So hopefully, once it's all stripped down, I've got the subframe moved. Once I get the panels off, it should all be pretty square underneath there. And it will just be the case of lining the new ones up once I fit them. So that's really good news. Right, I'm going to remove that rear mount now. Now that mount has two bolts going into the chassis leg and then one nut holding it to the subframe. Now what you're meant to do is drop the subframe down, so undo the nut, so you undo the rest of the bolts and then drop the whole subframe down. But because the engine mounts are on the subframe and I've got no way of supporting the engine, well, no practical way of doing it, I've decided I'm going to try and get it out as it is. So it might be a little bit awkward, but I'm going to give it a go. Worst case, I'm going to have to support the engine somehow, take the engine mounts off. I think the steering rack's got to come off, and then I can drop the subframe down, but I really, really don't want to do that if I can help it. So I'm not going to record this purely for the fact you're not going to be able to see anything. So I'm just going to crack on and hopefully, next time you see me, I'll have a broken mount in my hand. Now that was an absolute nightmare, as you can see. It is obviously in two bits. I couldn't get this stud off, so I had to weld it on in situ, which worked quite well. So I saved the nut. That's the top piece, well and truly broken. little spacer, and here's the nice new Jaguar engine mount, which is exactly the same. Well, it would be. So now to put it back together. So it's been a couple of weeks since I've done any filming at all. Reason being, it's just been my birthday, life's got in the way, we're in a heat wave at the minute, it's 38 degrees outside, so it's bloody boiling. And I've also been getting this ready for VBOA, which is like a Vauxhall Opel Bedford Association rally. So this has been getting polished. It's not quite finished yet. I've G3'd the whole car again, G10'd it, I've used some ultrafine stuff. Yeah, I just want to make it look as shiny as possible for the show. I need to wax it, clean the rest of the interior. So basically the Aston's been on the back burner. I've also recently just bought a brand new paint gun, which I believe you call a Devil Biss. Not really sure. I know it's like a professional quality spray gun. I've been using a cheapo one for years with fairly good results, but I thought I could do a new one anyway, so I'm going to treat myself and get something a little bit better. So this is like an entry-level gun, but they've got very good reviews. So obviously I want to try this, and I'm going to try it on the Aston to start off with. So yeah, that's where I've been. We have done some work on the car, and I'm going to show you what I've done now. So basically, I've put this rear mount on. So this is the rear subframe mount. It's a Jaguar part, as I said previously, and it fitted perfectly. Now, obviously, DB7s are known for rusting, and this is a pretty good example. There is a little bit of surface rust on the inner wheel arch, as you can see, but I'm going to clean this all right back. I'm going to X-primer it. I'm going to use some Gravitex, and then I'm going to body colour it. So I'm going to go silver with a bit of lacquer, and that should give it years of protection and just tidy it all up. Now, all these arms, as you can see, are also quite rusty, but it is only surface rust. They're very thick, so I'm not too worried about it. But what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to wire wheel them back and chassis black them, and they're just going to look loads better. Now, I've still got a slight mount issue here. The mount doesn't quite line up. This is slightly twisted. We're only talking a little bit. So I'm just going to bend it back slightly. I'm going to put a bar in here and just tweak it back. It's really not that bad. You can't really tell in the video here, but it is just slightly twisted. So that's my next job. Once that's done, we can put the wheel back on, which I'd like to say fits perfectly now. And then maybe give it a little road test. Not sure, we'll see. But I want to make sure it dries before I do too much more to it. Right, so before I can do too much more, I need to get this airbox out. It's really in the way. I don't really know how it secures. However, you can probably see here the headlight panel above it is bent and it's pushed into it. So I've taken one of the nuts out the top of the airbox, but I need to move this out of the way, I think, to give me a little bit more clearance. So I'm going to use this trusty porta power and then hopefully bend that out of the way. Now, obviously, once the airbox is off, I can, tidy this panel up, make it nice and square and stuff. For now, I just want to move it. So hopefully you can see this bracket also holds the bumper and the wing on. So I need to get all that nice and square. But straight away, that is absolutely tons better. So these air boxes, there's a little rubber bobbin on the top, there's a little rubber bobbin here, and I think that's all that holds it in. And then obviously just a clip for the airflow meter. So just that clip there for the airflow meter, there's a bob in there, and I believe that's all that holds it in. So I'm going to undo that now, and hopefully the airbox is going to drop out. So, majority of the airbox is out. There's just something holding it in. I'm not sure what it is. Right, the airbox is now off. I can confirm there's two bobbins on the top. So this fits in the inner wing like that. Two bobbins on the top. These are underneath the headlight. And then there's one here. You have to take the oil cooler off, which is only a couple of nuts. And you can get to that. So, not too bad when you know how. A little bit awkward if you've never worked on one before. There's also a little clip here what goes there. Relatively straightforward. So as you can see, this bit here is slightly bent, slightly twisted. It's only very minor, so I'm going to try and straighten this back up now. But this was the reason that the car was written off, for this bit here. It's, in my opinion, very minor. It's not like the whole chassis leg's bent or anything. Once this is straight, it's still going to be structurally sound. As you can see, it's seam welded as well as spot welded. I've got absolutely no concerns about it. It does not put me off whatsoever. It may do some people, but it doesn't me. So I've got every bit of confidence once this is repaired, it's going to be as strong as original. So hopefully you can see this all right, but what I've done is I've marked the floor centre to centre on the wheel hubs using a 90-degree straight edge, and then I've measured 102 inches, which is the standard wheelbase. Then I'm just using a porta power just to push the subframe over enough to get in the right place, so then I can tweak the front bracket and make it line up properly. So it was about, I think about an inch and a half out before, so it's quite a lot out. Putting the rear subframe mount on's pretty much fixed it, but the front one's just slightly twisted. So I just need to get this in the right place and then make the front subframe mount line up perfectly. Then what I'm going to do, just to beef it up a little bit, I'm just going to run a ring of weld around the welds just to make sure it's nice and strong and, you know, give it a bit more strength, because obviously it has been twisted and I want to make sure it's nice and strong. Right guys, I've done it. So like I said, I've twisted that arm mount a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit, and I've welded a couple of washers over the mount, as you can see here, just to make it that bit stronger. I probably didn't really need to do that, and it was probably a bit overkill. However, I figured if I can just reinforce it a little bit, I've got peace of mind. And obviously if I ever sell this car in future, it's all documented, so they've also got peace of mind. Now the best bit is the wheelbase on this car is 102 inches exactly. And I've measured, used my set square, and we're within about, I'd say 2.5, 3 mil, which is really good. The wheel was set back about 35, 30 mil before, quite a lot. So I'm really chuffed for that. I mean, 3 mil is nothing. I mean, especially on a British car, it's absolutely nothing. So absolutely dead chuffed. I mean, it probably wasn't even perfect when it was brand new. So it just goes to show that, you know, like a slightly bent subframe mount can make a massive difference by the time it gets to the end of the wheel. Just having that subframe just slightly ajar makes a big difference. So yeah, really, really pleased. So I've just popped the wheel back on and look at the difference. I mean, this was practically touching before. It's nice and centered where it should be. Absolutely thrilled. So that's one of the big jobs out the way. Dead chuffed. Right, I think we're going to wrap the video up there today, guys. Thanks once again. If you enjoy my content, please remember to hit the like and the subscribe button. Stay tuned for more, guys, and I will see you very, very soon. Goodbye.